This is Allison Normore. I'm reading from my book, Return to Pangaea. Leaving home. A growing awareness of multiple levels of reality set the stage for my introduction to indigenous ways of wisdom and eventually take me back to the place where I was born. In the big picture, I suspect this story is lifetimes in the making. I left Newfoundland in my early 30s for graduate studies in Ontario. Apart from my immediate family, I maintained only a few significant friendships back on the Rock, an affectionate term for the island of Newfoundland, which is indeed a rocky, mineral-rich terrain. There is no specific place that feels like home. My family moved often because of my father's job as a social worker. By age 16, when I graduated from high school, my family had lived in 13 houses and in 6 different communities. I had lots of memories and connections, but no deep ties to any of those places. My dreams, however, told another story. In the dream time, I returned to homes where I lived and apparently where parts of me lingered still. Gathering these pieces will take a while. I married at 20, and shortly after starting university at 28, my marriage ended. And this opened up new, broader horizons, including the possibility of leaving the island for graduate school. In the midst of endless choices, a direction became clear. Events and people conspired to guide my next steps. A friend introduced me to a former graduate of the University of Guelph. Phone calls and visits were arranged. The place and program felt right. And before long, my acceptance letter arrived. My eldest sister and her husband decided to move to Guelph too, and found a house for us to live in. All the pieces fell in place. I traveled light. All the stuff from dismantling a household was sold or given away. What was left fit easily into my Honda Civic. A friend flew from Toronto to drive back with me. On the way across the island, we make a spontaneous stop at my old high school in Grand Falls. There was only one other car in the parking lot that balmy August afternoon. As I pose for a picture on the entrance steps, a man comes through the front door who I recognize as the brother of a childhood friend. He says his younger brother is now living in Ontario, although the name of the town means nothing to me at that moment. This meeting is an unlikely coincidence, especially since my childhood friend has been a consistent character in my dreams for many years. I leave Newfoundland with mixed feelings, excitement and anticipation for what is to come, but also sadness as I leave behind what I see as a failed marriage, close friends and family, including a doomed romance. The first months in southern Ontario are strange and exhilarating. Life moves faster. There is more of everything: roads, cars, houses, high-rises, malls, concerts, and people. In contrast to home, the flat landscape in late August is hot and bright, and immaculately arranged flowers grow in abundance everywhere. Yet the expansive manicured green lawns are strangely empty. My new neighbors are curiously always out of sight, and I wonder when they tend their perfect gardens. Perhaps gardeners descend in the night or early morning hours. The store-bought jam is suspiciously red and short of berries. The food tastes bland. Most of all, I miss the mountains and the ocean, the wind and the rain. It takes time to realize I also miss the rugged unpredictability of the landscapes and wild weather, and the raw unpretentiousness and dry, self-depreciating humor of Newfoundlanders. My body adjusts to the food, although never grows accustomed to the hot, humid days bereft of a cooling draft of wind. I surrender gratefully to air conditioning. I become accustomed to a new social etiquette. I notice that people take a step back from me. At first, I wonder if I smell different, but discover I'm standing too close for comfort. Physical contact is another social no-no here. Mainlanders, a term used to refer to anyone not from Newfoundland, are clearly not okay with the gentle, playful slap or nudge, usually accompanied with a laugh or a wry joke, which is a normal part of social interaction back home. It takes an inordinately long time for people to warm up enough to talk to me about their personal lives outside of work. My stories of what happened at home on the weekend are likely to be met with awkward silences and quick changes of topic. I'm accustomed to hanging out with my professors, sharing a table at the cafeteria at lunchtime, and socializing in the local pub after class. Here, the students meet together at the pub, and socializing with instructors is rare and formal. It is a new world with a different rhythm and tone, and I feel like a fish out of water. I adapt, of course. I make friends among the graduate students, learn how to keep step with my new companions, and not to take things too seriously. My people, as I begin to think of them, are a culture apart, a distinct breed. Soon other siblings and cousins move into our rented older two-story house close to downtown. It is comforting and challenging to live with grown siblings who I have to get to know again. Yet I understand why immigrants stick together. It eased the transition. The sound of a telltale dialect, song, or news story about Newfoundland causes me to well up with emotion. Homesick, I note, pleasantly surprised to feel a new kinship with others who long for home. When a white seal stuffed toy arrives in the mail, I cry because seals had never occupied any special place in my heart before, but now they are a sweet reminder of what I've left behind. In the meantime, I come to see beauty in the gentle rolling fields given over to agriculture, appreciate the consistent sunshine and lengthy growing season, and I fall in love with the grand old walnut tree standing protectively at the side of the house. My family and I make friends with the ghost of our rented home and paint the walls bright new colors. We plan parties with the cousins, make Jig's dinner, a favorite Newfoundland meal of root vegetables, cabbage, salt beef, and yellow split peas cooked together in the same pot, and dance to traditional music suddenly dear and familiar. I discover and make frequent nostalgic trips to the Newfie store to buy salted cod and brews, the makings of another traditional Newfoundland dish. Brews is a hard, dry bread, once a staple for fishermen on long voyages at sea. Fish and brews is becoming my favorite meal. In a long neglected flower bed against the side of the backyard shed, I plant pink impatiens and dusty miller, encircling them with rocks dug from the garden soil. During the first week of university orientation, I attend a seminar on coping with the inevitable stress of graduate school. The instructor leads us in a guided meditation to an inner place of retreat. To my surprise, and without prompting, A woman I neither recognize nor remember in real life appears in my imagined inner meadow. She is seated and relaxed, as if she's always been there, waiting for me. Her smooth, shiny white hair is pulled back loosely into a bun at the nape of her neck. Her body is solid. Her smiling face and eyes exude love and wisdom. During my early adult years, I'd often longed for a counselor to talk with to help sort out my tangled thoughts and feelings. But this is my first experience of the power of the unconscious. Over the years of graduate studies, I will often pick up my journal and begin a conversation with the wise old woman, who I call Wow for short. She is always waiting in the meadow, and her responses to my questions affirm that I am loved and all is well. This perhaps lays the foundation for an even greater expansion of consciousness about the invisible realms that comes a few years later. While I notice coincidences and want to believe something greater is at work below the surface, my skeptical self is cultivated by an immersion in academic environments and our predominantly rational and materialist Western culture. Yet at significant crossroads in my life, unpredictable events and chance meetings lead me to conclude that there is something more going on than I can readily perceive. Not to mention the miraculous circumstances that bring me through multiple medical emergencies arising from having type 1 diabetes, diagnosed at 9 years old. I suspect dreams are also evidence of this invisible realm, and I need to be alert and pay attention. I'm on the breadcrumb trail, friends will hear me say.